Hey everyone, I just wanted to start out this week's video with a little explanation. I was recording Clem's Knight Rider video and there was a spot where I stopped the video so that I could show a close-up of it while Clem talked about his favorite pieces, a funny story that happened with one of the figures he had, and just all around wanted to give you a better close-up feel without having to show, in the camera while we were trying to talk video. However, because I have a new phone, I'm still working on how to record these videos. I accidentally did not record what I meant to record, and I recorded a little break that we had. It was a funny bit, but it would not give any context because it would just look weird. So I'm gonna post everything that I have. It's still gonna be a little bit longer than usual. I'm still gonna have a ton of information. It's still gonna show you how passionate Clem is about Knight Rider. It's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you still enjoy it. I apologize to Clem for not recording that whole section where we were sitting down at the table with his collection. And I hope you enjoy the video. Hello everyone. Today I'm bringing you another video of unique collections. I'm here with my friend Clem today. We're going to talk about his Knight Rider collection.
Yeah, a few weeks ago when I saw Joseph's first videos of the things that people collect, I thought it was great. And especially just since the fact that I don't think I'll ever have the opportunity to show this off again to people who could actually appreciate it. So this is my collection. It's been going on for quite some time now, and anybody who knows me well enough knows that I just love Knight Rider. Okay, so Knight Rider to me, Knight Rider started in 1982. I was 6 years old at the time. I was born in '76. So the premise of the show was amazing. You had the talking car that can do almost anything. And then you had Michael Knight, who was like James Bond. Okay, so everything just fell into place. And I remember even way back then that I would have toy cars that I got for Christmas, and I would play alongside watching the show on prime time. So, and it's never changed. Some things just kind of stick with you for a long time. Okay, so that's never changed. So over the years, little by little, and a lot of the stuff that you see here, which I'll point out in depth later on, are gifts from people who just know me, and they surprise me with little things or cars or pictures or DVDs or things like that. Because finding Knight Rider memorabilia, is expensive, especially if you go classic Knight Rider. So that's the thing too. Like, I like a lot of they've come out with a lot of newer products for Knight Rider, which are still, and it's still hard to find. And if you miss it, you'd have to go to eBay. And after you get to eBay, now you're talking hundreds of dollars for the same thing that you saw for $25 a year before.
Which is a lot of the problem with collecting is secondary market.
Right, exactly. So some of the items that, for example, that I have are, like I said, there are a few new ones, and then I have a couple of older pieces here as well. Now the older ones, I don't mind that they're chipped or they're faded, or because they've been played with, and that's the whole point of it. So a lot of the pieces that I see in the future, the ones that I like in the future, the ones I'm kind of keeping my eye on, are ones that have been used. And the thing is too, is that when you find products of, like, people who collect certain things, and they, if you find it mint on card, you're talking hundreds of dollars, which you could probably use for something else, right? But if you find them loose, then you can still build that same, product. You just find all the loose pieces, and I think it's just better that way anyway, because it just has more of a history to it,
It's also easier to display, because once you start getting into keeping it in the boxes,
yes.
You run out of shelf very quickly.
Exactly. So I prefer to have the pieces open, and then you can hold it, you can handle it, you can flip it over, you can see the copyright on the pieces, and you just, all the pieces have a history to them. So some of the ones that are here are like some of the photos are the ones that I had developed just to show some of the cast that were
when he says some of the cast, he just means Michael Knight and Bonnie. He
Yeah,
didn't get the other
and
guy.
Bonnie. I was all
He didn't
about
get anybody
Bonnie.
else.
I was an 8-year-old that had the biggest crush on Bonnie.
The cast, he just met Bonnie. Like, that's it.
She can wear. I mean, she just knew how to wear that jumpsuit, that white jumpsuit with the boots, and she was amazing. But she was perfect.
And her mom's sweater.
And then yeah, too. And then Michael always wore the leather jacket. When you see interviews with him, when he talks about the series itself, even in California, in July he was wearing the leather jacket, so he was always hot. But that was his thing. So you can see that he's always in the leather jacket, all around here, even in the figures. So, but I had a collection. I mean, I had more when I was years ago, but then just over time, and then when you do moves or things like that, things just become missing, and then they're gone. So there were quite a few pieces that I had when before I moved to Florida, and they just I just lost them. So it was kind of devastating to lose some of the pieces that are quite a few years older,
especially when you've had
you've had them for a long time, and then you can find them again, but it always takes time. It takes time, and sometimes it takes a lot of money.
It's not the same, because my He-Man ones that I had when I was a kid are not going to be as special as the He-Man ones that I replaced.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Yeah, I could get the He-Man from the 80s.
Right.
But it's not the one I had, so it's different. But I understand the.
It is, but at the same time, and it's fun. The thing for me is like the thrill of the hunt, finding the pieces is always fun. So yes, you can go to eBay and you can find them on eBay, Amazon. You can find the new stuff on Amazon, but you can't find the older stuff on Amazon. But sometimes if you're just at a thrift store, or a couple of other places, then you'll just stumble upon like this gold mine. So somebody will actually, you'll look around and somebody will drop off a figure or a car, or you might find a T-shirt or something. So that's where the thrill of the hunt comes in, and then you're like, oh, this is perfect, so I have to have it.
I'm more of a in the wild guy. I don't like shopping online because I don't feel like it's too easy. It's just like, oh, I want this. Click, like it's not. I don't get that thing of like moving the stuff around.
Exactly.
Going, oh,
So what you don't see here, what I would like to find also is what I had when I was a kid was the Knight Rider lunchbox, and I've seen them. Oh my God. With the thermos is about $150 in decent shape. Without the thermos, we're talking probably half the price. So that's probably one of the other purchases, because I used to have one of those, and I remember. This was the metal lunch boxes, at the time. So you would, they had the pictures all the way around. I think they're all plastic now. It's all safe and boring.
They even make them. I think they make the Velcro, like, insulated ones. It's not
yeah, exactly.
Back in the day, where it was a metal lunchbox.
It was a metal lunch box,
and it
rusted. It would rust.
Was soggy. There was no keeping your cool things.
You might get a couple of years out of it. You open it up, and then just a puff of rust would come out of it. That was a lunchbox.
Which is always weird, because the lunchbox, the thermos, is the most valuable thing.
Yes, and that drives up the price.
Like, I have a Return of the Jedi metal lunchbox, and I have it with the thermos, but without the thermos, just the thermos is like $100, and it has like an Ewok on it, and it's just
right, exactly.
Because the thermos was the first thing to usually get thrown away, because it didn't get washed out, or it was stained or broken, so you toss it.
Exactly. So I do on eBay, of course. So I do have my eye on, because that's the only way I think I'm actually going to find a mailbox. So. If you
know where to get a Knight Rider mailbox.
So you'll see that, I wish I could have this more complete, but I wanted to participate in the show a lot sooner. So this is what I have.
Well, as far as I know, Knight Rider did have a big thing in the 80s, and I think every time they try to revive it, some of the collectibles come back from the original show.
They do.
But then the reboots are horrible.
Yes, they have not captured Knight Rider from 82 to 86. It was perfect, and like Joseph said, they tried to reboot a few times with the series. They had a couple of movies, then they did have one, if you remember, the Knight Rider movie. It was a Knight Rider film. It was 1991.
Was it a movie, or was it? Because I know they had like a van and a motorcycle.
That was Team Knight Rider. Okay. They did Team Knight Rider in the early 90s, and that was atrocious. But it's still Knight Rider.
Because I remember Knight Rider the original. Then I remember Knight Rider 2000.
Knight Rider 2000. That was the made for TV movie film. Okay. And I think what they were going to do is that they were going to test it to see if it was if it was going to do well enough to to launch it into a show, which it didn't. It was great because actually that Knight Rider 2000, they brought it back to the old to how it used to be. So it was gritty. It was dark. It was gritty. The humor was there, but it wasn't a comedy, and that's what I think happens to a lot of the shows that we grew up with. They turned them, even though they were suspenseful. I mean, if you look up Knight Rider, I think the term is suspense and drama. I don't even know if action is even in it, but that's what you see on a lot of the sites.
Well, he wasn't very actiony. Like the car chases were the most action. Like
Right,
so
right.
often he'd fight,
Mm-hmm.
with his fist, but for the most part, it was a car chase.
It was a car chase.
With a jump. It was very Dukes of Hazzard like.
Yes.
Car chase, jump, or a special power. That
Special power, and then the end battle, and the end battle was always with something. It was like with a helicopter or a tank or something, something worthwhile. So right, and but so a lot of the films that have come out now, like the A-Team and a few others, like the concept was good, but it's like it was so. It was more comedic, and I don't think that's exactly what it was supposed to be. So I would rather them not do anything to Knight Rider until they can absolutely get it right. Because I'll be the first one at the theater throwing popcorn at the screen.
That's how it was with A-Team. When you go back and watch these, especially the 80s, they had a lot of unintentional funny moments.
Right.
There's a lot
right.
of stuff you look at now and you laugh because it's comical.
Right.
But the shows never were supposed to be that. They were supposed to be a very serious, maybe a little lighthearted to break up some of the action. But for the most part, they were serious. So when the A-Team came out, I could do a whole video just on why I don't like that movie. But they did the same thing with Starsky and Hutch and A-Team. They made it a comedy.
That's right.
Instead of making it how it was in the show, where it was more of, let's think of how to outsmart the bad guy.
Right.
And then you change certain elements, like you wrecked the A-Team van in the first 15 minutes. That's like making
right. That was it, and it was gone. That was the whole point of it. It was gone. I think I did see that in the theater. I know we're hopping on to other things, but it's okay.
That's where I left. Like I was just like, I'm done with this.
I zoned out right after that. The van was crushed, and I was like, well, I don't. Because there's really no reason. There's not going to be a car chase or anything anymore. It's like there's nothing. There's nothing that's going to be.
Well, it's like going to see a Knight Rider movie and they kill off Kit in the first 15 minutes, and then David Hasselhoff's riding a motorcycle.
Right, exactly. You're solving crimes, so it's like then you zone out. So, but yeah, there have been lots of talks over the years about them actually redoing a Knight Rider script. So no matter where you look at, it started years ago, and I think even as I saw an article probably even this year that that there are talks about a Knight Rider script, and so is going to do it, and then I saw one that said I forgot exactly what they were going to do, but I think it might have been slated for them in the next couple of years, but we'll see. But keep in mind too is that Knight Rider does have a following, and there are conventions, there are websites to do your own conversions for your cars and lots of things. So it is it's a cult classic, and people love it. And if you screw it up, you're going to hear about it. So so that's just how. I
think 2 years ago they did a Knight Rider versus A-Team versus another 80s popular car. I can't remember the third car because I think it was the Chips motorcycle.
Okay.
So they did. So Knight Rider does come up a lot, especially in the car community, because a lot of the stuff that Knight Rider did in the 80s, which was it's so futuristic and this car was supposed to be ahead of its time, are things we have now. Like the TV screen that he has in the car. The TV screen. We have that.
Right.
Nitrous we have, which is what they use. You don't use it as an everyday thing, but we have it.
Right. So the communications in the car, everything that Kit had back in '82.
The self-driving. I mean, it's not as good as Kit's self-driving.
It's not. Yeah. They still don't have it yet. I think Google's cars are still running people over.
Some people have it, and it's the parallel parking.
Parking.
I think Tesla has it where you can drive up to 60 miles an hour.
Okay.
I don't know if I trust a car to drive without me holding.
I don't want to be behind the wheel of that.
I remember when I was a kid, I saw a Kit, and I think it was in California. I think it was about 85, 86.
Was it Disney?
Yeah, it was Disneyland. Is that the one?
Disneyland. Yeah, Disneyland.
Yeah, we went to that one because we were living out there at the time. So I went and saw. I got to sit in the car. It was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it doesn't do anything. It just talks like you say your name and it just says hi. Nice
weird.
to meet you.
Wasn't it? It was over like a lake or something. Is that how they parked it? Where it was just.
I think mine was in front of like a rock type. It was like Universal, like it didn't have any Knight Rider stuff around it. It was just see the kit car, and then that was it. Then
and there are people who have actually rescued that same car, and they've restored it. So that's how the community is. So a lot of the original, there's only just a few of the original cars that are around that people have actually were able to snap up and enjoy. Because when you actually watch the shows, and I've got a blooper here, we can open this if you want to.
Yeah, we'll probably open that here in a few minutes and check it out.
So I got the blooper reel here. Was actually a gift, and in it you can see the. When you watch the TV series, you'll see Kit go for his turbo boost, up and down, and then it cuts out, so you see Michael do this, every single time, which is, I think it'd be fascinating if somebody said, okay, action, and I can do that, and it's like, wait, I'm going to try it again, action, and just to get it right, so then, and then look back like you, woo! So, but on the blooper reel, for example, you can see the after the after effects. So after the car comes down and it just disintegrates, pieces flying all off of it. It's a mess.
It's like Dukes of Hazzard. You see the
jump, exactly. Really cool. You see the jump, everything is perfect.
And then you see the car land, and then
Pancake,
it cuts away.
It's all good, and they drive away.
Yeah. There's a name for that kind of cutaway, and I learned it.
Is it
from Scrubs? But then I forgot what it was. I was going to show my movie knowledge, but I forget it. But yeah, they cut away so that you don't see the wreckage, because you'd see like the generally would look like that.
Yeah, exactly. The front end looks like this. I mean, when this one came down, they had stuntmen do in these cars, and I'm sure that when they were finished, they had metal rods in their backs after 4 years of filming, because the car would come down. For a dramatic effect, a lot of times they wouldn't have the car just pancake, down when it, go up. You put some more weight in the trunk to offset the weight of the engine. So when the car goes up, it'll come down. With Kit, every time you see him come up, he would come down nose first, and then it would end just right there. And then you see Michael do his do his thing, or even the passenger sometime if he had somebody with him. But without the cutaway, you just see the pieces flying all off of it, and the car is going back and forth, and it slams into a wall. It's nuts. So they went through a lot of Pontiacs to do so, and all they did, for Knight Rider when they decided to go ahead and do the shows, like the 1982 Firebird had just come out. They thought it would be perfect for it. So the only thing that they really did was change the bumper, change the front bumper, the look of the exterior of the car. So they just changed the front bumper to give it something a little bit more futuristic, and putting in the red scanner light in there as well. And then that was it. Now, a lot of the other work went into the interior of the car with the lights and everything else. This is before LEDs were really popular.
I remember that 80s, like the 82, 83 year was huge for those. The digital speedometer, all the lights for all of your...
Exactly. So the whole car pulsated like it was live. I can't imagine the juice it was drawing to get everything working. But... So that's what they did. So they changed the bumper and put the light in there, and then before you knew it, you had yourself something that just looked a little bit different than what was on the road at the time. Even the wheels you could also turbo cast wheels were an option for for Pontiac. So but it worked, and even the seats too. Like if anybody's trying to actually buy, if you've actually ever seen the restoration, especially a complete restoration, you're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars just to have a complete restoration done, especially a turnkey. If you're going to do it yourself, it would just take forever and a lot of money.
The dashboard is actually the thing that costs the most, because it's a custom made dashboard. I remember seeing I think it was on one of the Knight Rider, like the history of the cars or what Kit had to offer, and it was talking about what Kit had versus what we had now. And the dashboard they had sent to an engineer and was like, "This is all the stuff we want," and put it in the dash, and he was like, okay. And he ended up doing it in like a couple of weeks, like making the whole dashboard. And the blueprint is really cool to see, because it does label everything.
Yeah.
It does show you a good breakdown of what his car is.
Yeah. So
you can do it yourself. The dashboard is going to be
it's tough, and the wiring that goes with it. I mean, it's a project like you wouldn't believe. I would probably just be better just to buy a turnkey and just save yourself the hassle. But so also there are different variations of Kit that are here. You see, we'll take them out and show you in a second a little bit more close up. But you'll see the original versions, and then you see the season 4
Yeah, that's when
a
they
super
started
pursuit
putting
mode.
That's when they started putting on like this one.
Yeah, that
where
one. Yeah,
it was a super pursuit mode, but he only used it like once or twice an episode, so
yeah.
all the time.
Because
Like,
it was then. Yeah, he's right. Because in season 4, at that point, to use super pursuit mode, it would give him more speed. So in that season, Kit was always running behind, or he would actually go in the wrong direction, and then he'd have to turn around and then make it to the airport to stop the plane from taking off, and so he'd hit super pursuit mode and just blast off. And of course, when you watch the show, I was 8 years old, so this was amazing. It was amazing stuff. But when you realize that the footage is being sped up, and he's taking the corner so fast, and it's great because then you see people in the background walking like this.
it's also funny that when you look at like the super pursuit mode, it's supposed to be more speed, but the aerodynamics on it are so bad that it would actually not do any better than what the original car was.
Right,
Like
right.
he puts his bumper up, so now you have you have a wider frame for the air to go over. It's not sleek.
When you look at it there, then you've got the air vents and then everything else.
The beers used to come out, I believe. They would come out a little bit more. So it was like, this is not more aerodynamic.
It was great.
It looked cool.
It was the closest thing to it. Yeah. Oh yeah. It was cool. It was cool as a kid. It was that was season 4. He had that added.
And then some of the cars you'll see, if they have the gray on the bottom, that's Car. That's the bad guy.
Yeah.
That they had.
That was Car was the in the series was he was actually the prototype. He was the first. He was the original before Kit came along. And the difference between Kit and Car in the series was that Car was programmed for self-preservation, and Kit was programmed to protect human life. So Car, they were great series because in season 1, Car showed up. And he was like the perfect nemesis because he could do everything that Kit can do, except and he was also unstoppable. So you had to find another way of stopping him.
Yeah, the only way to tell was the gray on the bottom, and he had a green LED light that went across.
Yes, in the first season, he would actually look just like Kit. So there was nothing to show the difference between the two of them except the voice box. The voice box that Kit speaks to is always red. Car, who was voiced by Peter Cullen, the gentleman who does Transformers, Optimus Prime, and a lot of other things. And he also does Eeyore too, from Winnie the Pooh. Yeah, I've always thought that was a nice little. But so the only difference between the two of them in the first season was Car had a yellow voice box and Kit had the red. And from what I understand, he was. If you didn't see the series, all right, it's spoiler alert. But Car was. If you didn't see it by now,
I think you're safe. 30 years
30,
later.
30 plus years later. So Car was destroyed in the episode, but he had such a fan base that people wanted him back. So they did bring Car back, and they just couldn't quite explain the explosion that happened, with him and all that kind of stuff. So then he also comes back, and he still looks just like Kit. But then later on in the series, he wants to change his appearance. Is what actually the Car says. He wants to change his appearance. And like Joseph said, then it ended up being the two-tone gray, which was super cool. I mean, it was actually one of the things that it was amazing. That was actually very good. That was a very good episode.
I don't have it, or I've seen it. I see the Knight Rider Extraction that I got you for your birthday. The other kit that I've seen, like a variant, is the white when he went into that acid and they had to rebuild him.
That's right.
It was white for like 2 or 3
It was
episodes.
like primer. He was like primed. Yeah.
They had to learn how to get his confidence back, which was weird for a Car. Like, just he's struggling, and then they David Hasselhoff, like, you could do it, buddy. Like,
and that was the thing too, is that Kit was very. The reason why Kit worked back then is because Kit did the job, but he was prissy in a way. So Michael was just the opposite. Michael was go in there, get it done. He'll smash through a wall. Kit's like, oh my God, really? We're gonna smash this wall, without any concern. And that's why. The relationship between Bonnie and Michael was funny too, because she took care of Kit. So the fact that she knew that Michael's out there trashing this car, and so when Michael would actually, on a lot of episodes, he would come back from a mission, and Michael's beat to hell, and she would actually push past him and walk over to the car and see if Kit needed anything first, and it was that was the relationship that they had. So it was there was a lot of sexual tension there, we thought, over the years with these two, but nothing ever happened. It was just that. They just had that kind of relationship there.
It was also Michael wanted her, she wanted nothing to do with him. She was just
Yeah,
there for
yeah,
the
she
car.
did a lot more. Yeah, he did a lot more flirting with her, but she was strictly by the book, so she stuck to what she what she knew.
Oh. The
and what she
favorite
did.
part, and we got to find one for your collection, is the trailer.
Oh my
Because
God.
when I was a kid, that was the coolest thing, is to watch the car come out and go into the trailer.
The
And
trailer.
I've wanted to do that
Yeah.
forever, ever since I saw it. Like, it'd be really cool to drive into a semi while it's going.
To drive into the semi. The semi was great. That was their flag mobile unit. So, in some of the pictures that you see here, I'll bring them down. But actually, a few of them. This one, that one, and this one here.
That one too, I believe. Black and white. Yeah, it was so weird too because the trailers aren't very big, so you could just fit just the car. But as soon as they got in there, they had all this room to walk around.
Right, you notice they could open the door all the way.
Yeah, she could lay underneath it and wheel in and out.
And it was nice and smooth. You could hear, and they did good because you could hear the semi driving. You could hear the semi moving, but they were okay. I can't imagine being inside of a semi as you're trying to do whatever.
Especially when there's turns
or
traffic.
Devin would come out with his tea or something, and it would be perfectly fine. So. He's right.
You have to add a trailer to your.
I have to find a trailer. There is, and that's what it is. There's a lot. There's a lot that has that is missing. Would be fun to have, to have here. So it would be something I'll probably just gradually build on. Well,
no collection's ever really complete.
Yeah.
I have a huge collection of Wonder Woman stuff, and I'm always finding new or going. You know what? I want older now because
like the classic.
Like the classic stuff.
Yeah.
It's just. I mean, you have the car, so it's not the same because you always want to collect it because there's always different.
Yeah.
Hot Wheels is different than
Yes,
this Hot
yes.
Wheels. They're always different. But Wonder Woman, once you do the same costume, after a while you're like, oh, I'm just buying the same thing. I'm gonna look for something new, something a little different.
So yeah, it's true. So yeah, there's a lot missing. There are a lot of nemesis from it, and keep in mind too is that I also do now. I've always Knight Rider's always been my top, but I wouldn't shy away from finding anything Airwolf or anything. You remember Street Hawk?
I remember.
Not a lot of people remember Street Hawk.
I remember it.
I think it only ran for one season.
Those things are going to be tough to find. I don't know of anybody that was like a super Airwolf. Like, I want the helicopter.
Yeah.
I remember watching. It was cool. I like the whole premise of it. But again, you might be able to find a helicopter because I know Hot Wheels especially does.
Yeah.
Because I believe this year 2 Hot Wheels here are from the movie era of it.
Right.
Because I have an 18 van. Well, Nicholas has the 18 van that I gave him, but I have an 18 van, and that's what they do is the 80s stuff. So I think there was an Airwolf in there.
Right. And I've tried. I've watched it with. I've watched it with my girlfriend Azalea, and I've watched it with the kids, and they. Every once in a while, if they come into the living room, I might have like an episode or something on, they watch it. Now, I know that, like with a lot of other things that I try to introduce people to, especially like I also love Star Trek, for example. So trying to introduce somebody who's never seen Star Trek into Star Trek, I try to find the best episodes, and not so they don't get too bored with them. I can do all the episodes; doesn't matter to me. So. But with Knight Rider was the same. There were episodes that were way more fun than others, which is fine. And it's like that with all 4 seasons of it.
Well,
so
it's also too Knight Rider because I watched the shows with Nicholas because I liked them. So we watched A-Team. He liked it. Of course, it had a lot more action and gunfire.
Yeah.
The building of the invention at the last minute was cool. Knight Rider, he didn't really get into because it's more of a spy. Like you said, suspense thing. It's not heavy action. So, but I also didn't know how Michael Knight became Michael Knight because when I started watching it, I was about Nicholas's age, and the show was coming towards its end, and then they were running it past syndication. Okay. So I didn't know. You have to watch it. I don't want to spoil it, even though it is.
It's been over 30 years. If you haven't seen it yet.
Almost 40 years old. I don't want to spoil it. If you're like, oh, there's this cool 80s show. Nope, ruined it. But seeing the first episode of how he becomes who he becomes is an interesting thing, and what
it's actually a good episode. It's actually they did really well with the pilot episode, and then it just took off from there.
Especially with the effects at the time, because the actor that's playing Michael Knight is different. Before
in the beginning,
after.
So
they do a good job.
I think he's actually a stuntman. I swear he's probably a stuntman because he looks too much like Michael to not be a stuntman for him later on. So
they did really good casting with that, so it's not like. you see Clem at the beginning, and then it transfers into me later. It's like it's the same guy. Like it's
the
not.
same guy. Yeah, and when you see the other actor, like Joseph said, it's Michael Knight started out as Michael Long, and he was working on a case, and he was betrayed. And in the betrayal, in the pilot episode, in the first 10, 15 minutes, no, I don't even think it was that long. In the first 10 minutes, he was gunned down by the people that he was trying to protect.
You can go ahead and ignore that spoiler alert. I should put a spoiler alert at the beginning.
Yeah, you won't just put flashing spoiler. Yeah, after 40 years, so it's like
we're not going to spoil it. All right. So by the way, he's been shot. He had surgery.
I didn't say. Did I say shot?
You said he was something.
He was targeted.
He was betrayed.
He was betrayed. I said he was betrayed.
And then he was shot. He didn't say shot. Like,
okay, so now Joseph ruined it. Joseph ruined it. He was gunned down. Okay, yeah, okay. He was gunned down. And then in doing so, he was found and resurrected, basically. So what you see here. So, but in the pilot episode, if you watch it and listen, David Hasselhoff's voice is dubbed over the actor who's actually playing him. So the voice is still the same. And then you get Michael Knight after some reconstructive surgery, which looks great. I don't even know how much time had passed by between. So then you got Michael, and then that's it. So then the people who basically resurrect him from the Knight Foundation, they've chosen him to lead this project and to exact revenge on the people who gunned him down, and then just to go from there. So that's so that was basically it. So they were basically. The Flag Foundation was like the last resort. It was the last resort when it came to getting things done. So when direct action was needed, that's when they came in. And like Joseph said, it wasn't like action packed. It was a spy. It was suspense. So that's basically like when you look it up, that's what it says. It says underneath Knight Rider, it's the complete series, suspense and drama, and that's exactly what it was. So you had Michael doing whatever, and there was always a girl. There was a girl in every single episode, and Michael kissed more girls in that whole series, and there was some cute ones in there too.
That was an 80s trope you probably couldn't get away with today. Knight Rider, A-Team, and MacGyver. There was a different actor every week for them to like save or they needed help.
Whether they were good guys or bad guys, there was a new one in there. I never got into MacGyver. See, I watched a couple of episodes of MacGyver, but I never got into.
MacGyver was really good. I liked MacGyver. Once you start getting into after the Cold War and they start needing things for him to do, it's kind of when they jump the shark. He fights gangs. He goes out in survival with gangs. Okay. And he's like doing very like outreach community project with like troubled teens, and
that's so funny.
Then he goes back in time and he discovers his name. And don't watch the later seasons of MacGyver. Watch like the first 3 or 4.
That was like Quantum Leap. That wasn't Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap. Quantum Leap was really good. I watched it on Netflix, but they didn't have the whole they didn't have the end of the show. They had from the pilot all the way up until where they start doing the evil leaper. I can't remember what they called him, but it was somebody who was the evil guy that was coming in to undo all the work that he did. But I didn't see that part. But yeah, Quantum Leap did that was really good. And then after a while, the show goes on a little too long, and you can tell where they're like, "All right, today he's gonna jump in the body of Ava Braun," and you're just like, "All right, we're gonna stop."
Sometimes I wouldn't mind if a series ended it just right. When it starts to drag out too long. Now, Knight Rider ended after 4 seasons, but it didn't end on a cliffhanger or anything. It ended with a regular episode, and then they just didn't pick it up again. So I think that's pretty much how it ended. And it was a voodoo. I think it was a voodoo episode. I think the last episode had to do with voodoo. But yeah, they traveled all over the place. They were in I know some of the episodes they were in Chicago. A lot of it was in California, and geez, I think that's really about it. I don't really think there was too much, as far as traveling. Michael and Kit were always on the road, and but yeah, you're right. So there was a new person every episode, whether they were a good guy or a bad guy, and you had some famous people. There's an episode where Gina Davis played a cat burglar in one episode, and then you had a young, if I'm saying his name right, Jason Bateman. Is it Jason Bateman? He was a kid. He was probably maybe 12 years old. He played a little boy who found Kit. Kit was injured and had his memory wiped. So Kit was actually wandering around, and then Jason's character I forget the boy's name in the show, but then he finds him and helps him, helps him along. And Jason Bateman at the time was I think he was like 12 years old in that one. So there were quite a few. There were a few famous people who actually who had a part in the series. So, but it's still fun. I still play them. I'll put the DVDs in just as I'm cleaning the house or something, and just let it run. And one of the kids might come in and sit down and just watch. Just go ahead and watch and see what this is all about. And of course they've got questions. Like, can you do this, or how did he do that, or whatever. I was like, shh. Shut up, boy. I'm trying to watch this. So it's like
So what we'll do now is we'll take a few out, and then we'll show them to you, and then so you can see up close, because it's kind of far away.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these are really interesting, and it'd be fun to see up close and kind of see
absolutely
some of the detail.
To end the segment, I just wanted to show you guys that this is my rendition of Kit. Like I said, I've been a big fan of the show for many years, and I wanted to do that. And I've always been a Pontiac fan. So, Firebird at that too. This is my third Firebird, and I keep them for years and years. So, this one is a 2002 Firebird. I've had it since 2010, so it's been over 10 years. That's been a daily driver, and I've always wanted to fashion a scanner light in the hood, which they don't make them for this. So you have to get creative and do it yourself. So, after a couple of years of trial and error, I finally found a scanner that works. And I can control it, and it turns heads. People love it. We'll be driving on the road, and we'll get thumbs up, and we'll just get people who just I love the show. One guy that I passed through the parking lot where I work at the stadium, and he sees it, and he purposefully looks like this. Because I remember I drove through the parking lot one time because he has to park the cars, and he looked down. He didn't see it, and he just looked at me and went. And then, he was just disgusted with me, so I have to show him this every time. And when he sees it, he gives me a thumbs up, and he lets me pass. And he talks to me. He lets me know that he was a fan of the show, and it just brings smiles to people's faces, and we love it. So I do. I drive around with it, and the interior also has a couple of little Knight Rider inspired things going on in here as well. So it's a work in progress, but I think it's just a blast to see.
Oh, you got the
the voice box.
I'm getting in.
So the voice box plugs in, which was also a gift.
Oh jeez, holy cow!
Works just perfectly.
I'm 5'9", and this was tough to get into.
It works just perfectly for the car. And just hang on right there a sec. Let me click it off and on, and then you can hear it speak.
With 1,000 megabits of memory and a 1 nanosecond access time.
That's it.
Oh.
So
I tried to push the turbo boost button. I guess I should have thought of that before. I said I probably shouldn't have hit the turbo boost button while we're. This was it. Thank you, Clem, for coming on and talking about.
I had fun.
If you would like to be on a segment, just send me an email or message me, and we'll get you on. And we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.